Jonas and I had a whole conversation when we first started talking. Like, are we having a mutual mental breakdown? Like, have we just found like a person in the universe to like lose our minds with or something?
I'm Emily Calloway, and this is Kismet. Kismet is a podcast featuring your true love stories. Today, I'll be speaking with Gabi, who will be sharing her true love story of misconnections and second chances. Hi, Gabi. Welcome to Kismet. How are you doing this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I've been loving this kind of cooler weather we've been getting here. So it's kind of got me in this like false fall mode. I was like, maybe I'll wear like
Yes.
a little bit longer sleeves, like not long sleeves, but like embrace that it's cooler outside today.
Yes. I'm glad that it's been cooler the first week of school. It's made it a lot nicer. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. So, to get started today, I'd love for you just to share a little bit about yourself.
well, my name's Gabby. I have grown up in Georgia, but my family is all from the north. So people are like, you don't have an accent. And it's because I didn't really grow up here. Um, I just recently resigned from my position. I ran a nonprofit, an arts nonprofit for about a decade named Mass Collective. And that was my passion for about a decade. And I decided to take some time off after a pretty rough year and focus on my kids and just myself and just, figuring out what I want to do with my life. Because a decade is a long time to
Yeah.
stay with something. And I'm married and have two kids, a 7-year-old and an almost 3-year-old. Just so hard to believe.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I guess getting into the good stuff. So, talk to us a little bit about your sort of journey to finding your husband and, what the lead up to that point. So, basically, if you had been married before, if you were dating, if you were, not dating and it just happened upon you, like what sort of your situation was with dating at that point and your relationship to relationships.
Yeah, so I had been in a decade-long relationship with my now ex-husband. We got together in our mid-20s and, dated for a while, got married, and started a life together. We actually started the nonprofit that I ran for a decade together. And had a kid. And then in late 2019, after a pretty rough year, we I say we, but I decided like we're calling it quits. And it was very sudden. And then we hit 2020 and then COVID hit.
Yeah.
So we went into 2020 like I'm separated from my husband and we're trying to figure out co-parenting. And I'm also now single after a decade, which was crazy to go
Yeah.
from dating in 2010 to dating in 2020. Um, and then we're in COVID. So
Yeah.
being like a single mom dating was like really rough, and it was also COVID and things were weird. And so I had, I gotten on apps just like out of boredom. And had gone on like one date, like one whole date. I really wasn't looking for a relationship. Like I was so over being in a relationship. I was like, this is silly. I don't want to do this anymore. Like I'm fine by myself. Like I don't need a person. Like I've been
Yeah.
on my own for a decade is how I felt. Like I might as well just keep it going. Uh,
Were you going through therapy or anything like that at that time as well? Like, was that sort of part of the
yeah,
process of
I mean,
healing?
I've been in therapy on and off like my entire life. And I had been with the therapist that I was with at the time for like 2 or 3 years, and I loved her. She was great. I met her through like a research program that I was in. And I had a session with her like the week, or I want to say it was the week before or something. And I had kind of been talking to her about how like, it was like a struggle, just like thinking about dating. And she was like, well, do you even want to be in a relationship? And I was like, no. I was like, the perfect person would have to just like fall out of the sky into my lap, and then I would consider it. And she was like, ha ha ha, you just challenged the universe, which is like a thing we used to talk about in therapy all the time because
Yeah.
I'm a very spiritual person in that sense. And so I was like, yeah, challenge the universe, whatever. Um, and then I went on that date, one date on a Saturday night, and Sunday after getting my son back from the custody exchange, I'm in bed late at night, and I noticed that this guy has followed me on Instagram. And I hadn't at first didn't recognize him, but then I was like, "Oh, I know who this is." And I remembered that I had talked to him on OkCupid in 2010, if that gives you a timeline of how old I am.
Which
Um,
is so wild just to think about 2010 and then the sort of circumstances 10 years later. Like, I have no idea. Like, I mean, I think I was I think I think I was single in 2010. Yeah, I was single in 2010. I could not tell you anyone that I talked to back in those
yeah.
days. Like, that's a long time.
I mean, you're talking to a girl who literally walked up to a guy at a party on New Year's Eve one year and said, "Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Gabby." And he went, "Yeah, I know. We dated for 3 months." Like,
Oh, wow.
I am not good at remembering people if they're not memorable. Like,
Yeah.
it just doesn't stick in my head. And so the fact that I remembered him was a big deal. But I like distinctly remembered talking to him on OkCupid, like one or two messages back and forth, because I remembered his face. And then I knew that we had like gone to a dinner. We ended up having mutual friends that we didn't know about at the time. Years later, went to a dinner. He was there, and I was about to get married. I was like, I want to say a month and a half, 6 weeks from getting married. And he was at this dinner. And I remember like looking at my friend who was there and going, "Oh, I know him. I talked to him at OkCupid." And she's like, "Oh, yeah, that's Jonas. Like, he's friends with Jared and Kelly." And I was like, "Oh, cool. I'm going to sit next to him." And she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And she's like, "Okay, weirdo, like, do your thing." And so I like maneuver to sit next to this guy who is at the time on a date, like a very early date with a girl who ends up being his first wife.
Yeah.
And the way he tells it is he thought I was like mocking him and hated him the whole night.
Mhm.
Because he says he remembered me from OkCupid, but I don't think we talked about that night. Like we both mutually
Mhm.
remember it, but we didn't say anything
It's
about
like
it.
Fight Club. You don't talk about Fight Club. You don't
Right?
talk
You're not
about the
like,
people that you like once matched with on apps, especially I don't know what your friend's party was like, but especially if they're coupled up, it's like that awkward like,
yeah,
yeah, we met on an app like
yeah. It would have been so weird. But I remember it as me flirting with him the whole night
yeah.
because I was just trying to start. I don't know what I was. I honestly don't know.
You felt
I
some
was
vibes.
25.
Basically, you felt some vibes.
Yeah.
Vibes enough to where you're like, okay, I'm gonna like excuse this awkwardness of the fact that I did talk to this guy on OkCupid and the fact that like I am about to get married. Like there's something here and obviously I like just want to sit down and know him.
Yeah. And I think
Yeah.
we saw each other like one more time over the course of that 10 years. And I remembered seeing like tagged photos on Facebook of his wedding.
Hmm.
And, but like we weren't Facebook friends. We weren't like on social media together. I don't think we ever spoke again after that. And then I go on this date on a Saturday night in 2020. And this guy follows me on Instagram and it's him. And my first thought was like, is he still married? Like, I instantly was like, is he married? Like, I want to know. So
Yeah.
I go to his social media and I like deep dive, like
Yeah.
super deep dive. And the only thing I can find is that he like did get engaged and there's like one wedding photo, but it's from a while, it's like 5 years ago. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, whatever, I'm going to be weird. And so I message him, and this is like late night on a Sunday. And I
Yeah.
message him and I say, it's still so funny to me that I did this. I say, "Hey, I know we've met before, but I don't remember how. How do we meet?" Which is absolutely a bold-faced lie. Like I 100% knew where we met every time we had talked in the past 10 years. Like I knew. And he wrote back like almost immediately and was like, "Oh, hey, like I think we talked on OkCupid and then like we were at that dinner with Jared and Kelly. Like was it a graduation dinner? Was it a birthday dinner?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And so we start talking about that and then all of a sudden it's like 6 in the morning.
Wow.
And it was like instantly there was a connection. And it was, I mean, honestly terrifying to
Hmm.
have a connection with someone that quickly and not, and I didn't question it like at all.
Was it this all like this conversation till 6 in the morning? Was this all over Instagram or did you switch to text or did you start calling each other? Like what was that first?
So, yeah, so it was Instagram for like the first hour or two. And then I was like, I think he said something like, "Oh, I want to send you a picture of my hair." Because we were talking about him growing his hair out.
Hmm.
And
It was 2020. We were all growing our hair out.
right, exactly, exactly. And I used to be a hairstylist, and so
Yeah.
he was like, "Oh yeah, like how do I grow my hair out?" And I was like, "Well, here's my number. Just text me because we'll just send pictures on because on Instagram it's weird the pictures are the way they
Yeah.
went through, and I think they fixed it since then, but back then it was weird." And so we switched to text, and then he sent me this picture. I still have it. It's like one of my favorite pictures of him. And we switched to text, and we were just texting all night long. And it got really deep because I was like, yeah, he's like, oh, hey, like, are you still married? And I was like, well, no, I'm separated. I'm going through divorce. And he was like, oh, funny story. I told my wife, like, as COVID started, like when I came back on a plane from California, that I wanted a divorce. So I'm also like separated and going through a divorce. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, yeah, it really sucks. It's really hard. Like, we were just talking about that. Like, we weren't even like,
Mhm.
it wasn't even like flirting. It was just, we were just talking. We were just having a conversation about our lives.
Yeah, communality of pain, like, that's what we used to call it in acting, where you're both going through these sort of deeper experiences in life, and you're finding that sort of, common connection. I think, especially since you're both in that particular stage where you're just newly separated and kind of navigating this new world, it makes sense that you did have that connection right away. So did he tell you, like, what made him look you up after 10 years or something? Like, had he known from that beginning that you were like somebody that he really felt like he missed his shot with?
Kind of. He's like, I always remembered your face. Like,
Mhm.
your face stuck in my mind. I thought about you over the years, not in a like, oh, I should have dated that girl, but in a like, oh, I wonder what she's up to kind of like thing.
Mm.
And I guess he was just like feeling sad and lonely during COVID alone and was like on social media. And I think I popped up it as a people you should know,
Mhm.
which is like, why after 10 years. And he went down, he deep dived and he like saw that, I had a kid and I had been married, but I also like was definitely posting about the fact that I was like single again and not going to
Mhm.
be married. And so I think that was like what he said. He was just like, I just figured it can't hurt to follow you. And he's like,
Yeah.
honestly, I thought we were already following each other and so and connected on social media. And I thought we were too. And I kind of vaguely, and I cannot guarantee this is true, but I kind of vaguely remember like a conversation in my first marriage where there was some like argument about not him specifically, but like guys I had been involved with and like how I shouldn't be
Mhm.
connected them to social media. And I may or may not have like removed him or unfriend him during that period.
Yeah.
But he definitely was like, I thought we were friends. And so I just decided to add you. And then you messaged me within like a couple hours. And I was
Yeah.
like literally it was maybe 2 hours from when
It's
he followed
interesting
me.
because it was bad timing, but good timing at the same time. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know. It's interesting how that all works out. Okay, so you had this first conversation. You've talked all night. Where did it go from there?
So it very quickly became clear that there was a really insane connection between the two of us. Like we just felt so comfortable with each other so quickly. Like we talked about everything and we started just talking every day. Like he was sending me like videos like every morning on his way to work, like just talking about like what he was going to do that day and like his life and whatever. And then I would send him videos of like, my yard and talking about my plants and my house. I had just moved. And so I was like really excited to be in a new space. I would send him like I was nannying at the time, so I would send him like pictures of me and the kids doing fun stuff. And then I think that week we had like a FaceTime call, and it was
Mhm.
so like we were so giggly and like kind of like 15.
Yeah.
Because it was like, oh my God, we're like actually talking. Um, and then he basically was like, I have to see you. Like, I want to see you in person. Like, I need to see if this is a thing.
Yeah.
And he was living in Athens at the time, and I was in Atlanta in the Tri Cities area. So it would have been like a commute. And also, it was COVID. And also, I have a
Mhm.
kid. So it
Yeah.
was complicated to figure out how we were going to do that. But, he decided he was going to drive down on Saturday morning after I had done like a custody exchange. So, because obviously, I'm not ready for my kid to meet this random person that I just started talking to.
Right.
And we would just hang out on my deck at my house. But like he was getting regularly COVID tested for work anyways, and so was
Yeah.
I. So it was like, we'll just get COVID tested beforehand and we'll just make sure that we're safe and whatever. And I was living with my best friend at the time. And I was like, I think arguing with my ex about something with custody, of
Mhm.
course, on the back deck. And she came out and she was like, oh my God, he's here. And he's like way cuter than I thought he was gonna be. And I was like, "Oh no!" Like, I'm like, "Oh no!" Like, I didn't know. I didn't. I didn't want it to be that like that. I wanted to not be a thing.
Yeah.
So he like came to the door and he hugged me immediately, and I felt like the first time that we hugged, I felt like it was almost like so many things just sort of like felt safe all of a sudden. And
Mm,
like 1 week into just talking, it was like, okay, this person feels like home almost.
mhm.
And we went outside and we talked for a while. And within a few minutes, he was like, hey, this is really weird, but like, I have to kiss you or I'm going to only think about kissing you for the next like hour, 2 hours or whatever. Is that okay? Can I kiss you? And I was like, yeah.
Mhm.
And so we kissed. World stopped kissing. Like it was like I know the spot that we kissed at on my deck. We actually went there right after we got married because we got married in our yard. Like that was such an important moment for us because it felt like this is not we didn't make this up in our heads. Like this is a
Yeah.
real connection that we have.
Yeah.
And we spent most of the day together just like hanging out with my best friend and talking and just watching TV and giggling and talking about music. Like we have so much in common. Um and then he left and it was really sad. Like he didn't want to go and I didn't want him to go. And I had to go to work the next day and I was working and we were just kind of talking about how crazy it was.
And I remember you saying, like, on our call that you said that your friend never liked anyone that you dated, and that first meeting, she was like, "Oh my god, like, he's great."
Yeah, no, we have been best friends since we were 14 and she's like I don't even call her my friend anymore. She's my sister.
Yeah.
We've grown up together and we've been through hell and she tolerated people and she was like, "Yeah, they're fine," but she never was like, "I really like this person for you." She was just like, "Yeah, they're fine, whatever."
Yeah.
But when he left, sorry, she went upstairs to go like, give us some space or whatever. Cause we were like hanging out together. She texted me almost immediately and said, "Oh my God, like you are so comfortable with him. I like him so much. He's so nice." And she's
Yeah.
like, not that kind of person. She does not like
Right.
stuff like that. But
She's
she
not
was
gonna
like,
BS you.
no, yeah. She was like, you looked so comfortable and happy with him.
Yeah, and I think that's
And
especially, like, knowing that you were going through a separation and divorce and everything, like, more than likely, like, especially being your friend of so many years, she's got her guard a little bit up for you too. She's seen you go through all this crap and, like, is like, I mean, I know I would be like that. I just, like, be very cautious of my friend jumping into something. So the fact that she saw this and was like, oh, like, I think that this is something too. I think that speaks volumes.
yeah, she definitely was like it was good, but it was also like, oh God, this is like a real thing. Like I kept wanting
Yeah.
to believe. I mean, Jonas and I had a whole conversation when we first started talking, like, are we having a mutual mental breakdown? Like,
Yeah.
have we just found like a person in the universe to like lose our minds with or something? And like had separate appointments with our therapist to like talk about whether or not we were having a mental breakdown. Like, because
Yeah.
it really felt like way too much like the universe had dropped the perfect person in my lap without any effort. Like it was not what I expected to happen at all.
Mhm.
Um
Yeah. Had you guys both been sort of serial monogamists in your past, or
I am the kind of person who gets in a relationship and then is very single and then gets in a relationship and then is
Mm.
very single.
Mhm.
And my previous relationship, I very distinctly would not allow this person, my ex-husband, to date me for a very long time. I was like, no, we are not together. We are just dating. And
Mhm.
it kind of got, how it goes with men and the way they do things. He was like, well, we have to be together
Mhm.
eventually. And I was like, sure, fine, whatever. And then it became a relationship. And that was
Yeah.
kind of my pattern was like, I would just kind of get like bullied into being with someone a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally resonate with that. I think that's one of the reasons why I'm very careful about getting into relationships now, because I know I've had a pattern, at least in the past, where I've just sort of left myself be swept into something versus like understanding if it's really right for me. So I totally I totally get that.
Yeah. And I mean, I had been I had been in this relationship for such a long time, and Jonas had dated a lot. Like, weirdly, very weirdly, my ex-husband and him dated many of the same girls around the same
Mm.
times. Like, we
Mhm.
eventually found that out. Like, there
Interesting.
was a girl that they both dated at the same time who eventually got pregnant very soon after that. And this is why while me and my ex-husband were like, we had just started dating and he had dated the girl over the summer while we were not exclusive. And then she turned up pregnant and both Jonas, unbeknownst to me and my ex-husband, were like doing the math, like, oh, like could that. So it's just
Wow.
like crazy. And then actually Jonas ended up dating that person and being in a relation, like years later, being in a relationship with her for like a year or two.
That's
Um,
crazy.
but there was like, and then there's like so many like things like that where it was
Yeah.
like, we were at like a Bright Eyes concert at Variety Playhouse at the same time, both in like the pit together,
Mhm.
never saw each other. We had been to, like, there was like two or three other concerts we have like discovered that we were at. There's been like events that we were at that we both went to. There's a bookstore in Decatur it's a used bookstore called Book Nook that
Mhm.
I used to go to weekly, that he went to weekly,
Wow.
like all in the same 4 years of time. He lived across the street from it. He used to go there once a week to look for like, graphic novels and like games and
Mhm.
stuff. And I used to go looking for vintage books. We probably passed each other in the aisles at this bookstore like 100 times.
That's so
There were
funny.
all these like strange, and we had these mutual friends that those mutual friends that he has were at my first wedding. Like it was
Wow.
very like we just kept circling each other for this like decade of time.
Yeah.
And we joke that like if we had gotten together in 2010, because in 2010 I was talking to him and my ex-husband that same week, and I ended up
Mhm.
going on a date with my ex-husband and not him. And if we'd say like if we had gone on a date at that time, we wouldn't be together. Like
Yeah.
we would not have been able to be the people that we are, because so
Mhm.
much of our journey was the work we did and the time leading up to being together, to be like who I wanted to be and who he wanted to be, and
Yeah.
going through, a marriage that was tough, that like where you love someone but it's really tough, and what that looks like, and wanting to make it work and the other person not wanting to make it work, or all the things that happen when you're in a long-term relationship, like that all sort of made it possible for us to find each other in this moment and to
Mhm.
be in a place where we could be together. Even like I couldn't imagine the me now. If I were dating him 10 years ago, he would have been miserable. Like I am
Mhm.
such a different person. I'm so much calm. I don't want to say better, but I'm calmer and I'm more in tune with myself in a way that I
Mhm.
hadn't been for years because of all the trauma I'd been through. And there was so much work that went into getting there that I don't think I would have done if I hadn't been forced to, because I was in a relationship that wasn't great. And I
Yeah.
knew that I was like, this is either me or him, or the combination of the two of us, and it's not going to be me. And so I started really intensely working on myself to try to figure that out.
Yeah, I love that. I love like that's one of the things that has really been fascinating to me through this journey of this podcast is talking about these misconnections, all of these times that, you could have met and you didn't. You could have dated, but you didn't. Like these sort of orbiting each other.
Yeah.
I just think it's so fascinating because it really like when you start to put all of the pieces together, it's like it was written in the stars. Honestly, it's just timing is really everything. And they say that it's a cliche, I know, but it really is. I do find it to be true.
Yeah, I mean, I like really believe in the way we're all connected in the universe, and it's something that I really hold deeply in my heart. Like I come from a fundamentalist Christian background, and like God is not my thing, but I do believe we're all connected, and I believe that people come into your life at the right moments, and
Yeah.
you can miss it. You can
Yeah.
miss it because you're not listening and you're not open, and I really made an intention, and I think he did too, over the course of the time that I was, in a marriage that wasn't great and working through a lot of my own stuff. I made an intentional point to be open and to say yes more, and to just be like,
Mhm.
yeah, that scares me, but I'm going to try it. And I'm not going to say no because it freaks me out. I'm going to give it a try. And I did a lot of things in a lot of time to sort of almost like desensitize myself to being a little uncomfortable, which I mean,
Mhm.
again, I think is really important in general in a relationship. Like you
Yeah.
are going to be uncomfortable because that's where work and growth happen. And
Exactly.
that's the best part of a relationship, is like meeting someone and wanting to be with them. Like not feeling like you have to be, but that you really want to build a life with them, and you want to do life, and you want to build a world together. And I feel like we've really done that. Like we've built a beautiful community and a life. And like even our home is so different. Like this house that I moved into, is so different since he and I have been together because we've really intentionally built it together to be the way we want it to be and to
Mhm.
have it reflect who we are as people and like what we want for our kids and
Yeah.
all these like really important, like all the things I had in my mind when I thought of being a mom and married and having a life, I live it now. And I
Yeah.
didn't think it was possible. Like I had these little dreams of like waking up on a Sunday morning and having coffee and listening to vinyl in my living room while my kids are running around screaming. And like
Yeah.
that's a real thing now. And that is not
Yeah.
because that's not me who did that. That's us who did that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That gave me the chills. I love that. Um, so okay. So you've had this first sort of week together and this date, and you talking to your therapist about this sort of mutual, are we having mental
Yeah.
breakdowns together? So how fast did things progress from that point in terms of like realizing he is the one, realizing that, that you have a life together? Like, was this something that ended up being a slow burn, or did it continue at that warp speed?
It was definitely very fast in the way we felt, but we were intentional on not making it too fast like with the changes because again, I have a kid, but also we didn't want to do something that was going to hurt either one of us. So
Mhm.
we definitely told each other we loved each other like the day after we met for the first time.
Wow.
He actually told me accidentally.
Yeah.
We were texting and I was kind of talking about how hard it was because he was long distance and we were both going through divorces and he was like, "Yeah, I love two people, but I'm in love with one person." And then I like was like, "Hold on, hold on, hold on. Back that up a little bit. What did you just say?" And he was like, "Ah, shit." Like he's like, "I didn't mean to say that out loud." And I was like, "Yeah, and you just texted it." And then I get a video of him being like, "This is crazy, but I love you. Like I
Wow.
love you and I'm falling in love with you." And I was like, "Yeah, me too, idiot." Like I wasn't gonna say it, but like, yes. And I was like, "I'm at work. I can't send you a video." And so then later that night, I also sent him a video and was like, "Yes, I love you. I'm falling in love with you." So that was very quick, but we like he was long distance and we were both still going through divorces and that was complicated. And so we saw each other on the weekends. Like he would either come down for like one day on the weekend for a while and then eventually he was spending the night like he would either spend the night like Friday night or come Saturday morning and spend the night Saturday night, so we'd spend the weekends together. And it just felt like we just suddenly everything fit, like we were just like all my friends loved him and like everyone at my job loved him. I sent like a picture of me and him to one of my friends who has known me through my entire marriage and worked with us. And his response was, "Oh my God, Gab, like you look happier than I've ever seen you in a decade. Like I've never seen you smile that big." And it
Mhm.
was so lovely. So we ended up like going on a couple trips together. And then about 9 or 10 months into dating, he met my kid.
Mhm.
We really waited. Mostly just because I wanted to be very cautious and he also wanted to be cautious because he had been in relationships with people with kids and he didn't want to fall in love with a child and then also have that breakup.
Mhm.
And so we waited. And then, of course, they instantly loved each other. So
Mhm.
that made it even worse because I was like, well, now you're never going anywhere.
Yeah.
Um, and then I met his parents. And then pretty much within a year of us dating, we decided we were going to move in together.
Mhm.
We both ended up using the same divorce lawyer. I liked mine so much and I was like, "She's great." And so he was like, "I'll use her." And so then he used her too, which was so funny. Mostly uncomplicated divorces. Despite
Yeah.
even having a child, we managed to figure that out fairly easily. And then he decided he was going to move in. He was in grad school. Like he was working full time and then also in grad school. So he was like, "I'm going to graduate from grad school and then I think I should move in." And I was like, "I think
Mhm.
that's a good idea." So we decided we would move in together. He moved in a year later. And then things went really quick from there. Like once we moved in together, it was like we got engaged in October. We bought our house together in December, got married on January 1st.
Wow.
And then we found out on January 4th that I was pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
I,
Wow.
yes, I was a pregnant bride and I did not know it.
Yeah.
I think the week of our wedding, I took like, he didn't know this at the time, but I took like 10 pregnancy tests because I was sure that I was pregnant
Mhm.
and they were all negative. And I was like, "I guess I'm not." And the like literally the day or the day and a half after our wedding. Like I was either Monday, I think it was Monday morning. We got married on a Saturday. I took a test, forgot about it, like walked away to like deal with something with my kid and came back and just started laughing because I was pregnant. So that part definitely happened fast, but like
Yeah.
we gave it time before we decided we were going to do those things.
Mhm.
And the thing was, it was hard in the sense that we did a lot of work on ourselves and together to like, because we're mutually healing from being in marriages, but
Mhm.
also trying to build a new relationship. And that was complicated, but we were intentional about it. And it took a lot of conversation, and like, there were hiccups for sure, but we just never, it was so interesting, like coming from a marriage where we fought a lot and it was always bad. And then to be in a relationship where the fights were not about fighting, they were about how do we get to a good place, was
Mhm.
so different. And it just felt like we've had maybe like a handful of like big fights in our entire relationship. We've been together like 5 years now. And every single one of them was so nice. Like, even when we weren't being nice, it would be like very kind. So
Yeah.
anyway, so it was like a slow burn up to the moment, but then it was like, no, we're full fledged now. Like we're doing this, we're doing it.
Yeah.
We'd been
Yeah.
married before. We didn't have any, like, I didn't have any reservations about being married again. It wasn't that important to me. Like, getting married again wasn't that important to me, but it was very important to him. Like, it was important to him that if he was going to have kids, he wanted to be married. He just thought it was important. And I was like, you know what? It doesn't hurt me. And I'm not worried about doing it with you.
Mhm.
So we did it. And I'm glad we did. It's not like, I don't regret it or anything. It was just like, I would have been fine not being married for a billion years.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about, what you touched on about like the healing while starting the relationship together and, how in a lot of ways how intentional you did have to be because I just know coming out of relationships there is always that tendency to see patterns and projecting some of the trauma that you've had from
Yeah.
prior relationships on someone and really having to be intentional and say, this is a different person. Like, I'm working through this, but like he's proving
Yeah.
himself to be, different in these ways. And same, I'm sure, for him as well with you. But how that says a lot about your relationship that you were able to both like work through all of that stickiness together.
Yeah. And I think we both came from relationships that were so different. Like, I was in a relationship where I did say how I felt all the time, but it was met with a lot of like not great reactions or,
Mm-hmm.
any acknowledgement whatsoever. And he was in a relationship where it was just, they didn't talk about things. So
Mm.
now we're coming into a relationship where he wants to talk about stuff and I don't feel safe talking about stuff. And so it was a
Mm-hmm.
lot of me being like able to say things and then him being like, you are safe to say this. Like, I am hearing you, I'm listening, I want to be there for you, I want to understand. And then me being like, hey, I feel like something's going on. Like, you need to say something. Like, I don't want you to hold it in. I don't want you to like, I don't care if you think it's small. Like, let's talk about it. Let's work through it. I want you to feel safe. I want you to feel like valued in this relationship. I don't want you to
Mm-hmm.
feel like you're being like, anything is being swept under the rug. So there was a lot of like meeting each other on the opposite sides, which was so interesting and like
Mm-hmm.
also very hard because like there was a lot of like deconstructing, like, okay, this is not my previous relationship, but some of these same issues are coming up, but not for the same reasons. And like, what does that
Mm-hmm.
mean? Therapy was a huge part
Yeah.
of that for sure. Like, we both were in therapy, we both still are. I'm a chronically depressed, well, I was a chronically depressed person and
Mm-hmm.
had a lot of anxiety. And at the time that he met me, I was like also going through a trauma treatment program for CPTSD and a
Mm-hmm.
whole bunch of other stuff, which thankfully that program was amazing and it like changed my life also. It
Mm-hmm.
taught me so many amazing things. And, I didn't have CPTSD anymore, which was amazing. It's the first time in my life.
Wow.
And but it was also great because I learned so many things in that program and he learned so many things and we were able to just really come together. And it's just so nice to be with someone who's like invested in their own growth. And I would not have had a child with someone again who wasn't that way because I had
Yeah.
done that before. And I really wanted to be with someone who was invested in being the best version of themselves as much as I was invested in being the best version of myself for our kids.
Yeah.
Because it's, that was important to me. And I think I said this in our like interview call or whatever, but I am the best version of myself now because of how safe he made me feel and how much space he gave me to explore that and to
Mhm.
figure out who I wanted to be and who I wanted to be in my community even. He has given me
Yeah.
so much space to do things inside of my community, and he never questions me when I'm like, "Hey, our neighbor needs money to pay their power bill." And he's like, "Here you go." Like there's so many things about our relationship that I appreciate, and he really doesn't say no to me very often, and it's because he
Mhm.
trusts me and he knows that like I'm not asking unless it's really important.
I love that. I love that. That's really beautiful. I mean, I totally agree. I think that the best relationships are ones where you sort of elevate each other or you bring out the best in each other. Where you're better together than you are as solo people, just by the support and the trust and all of those different important aspects. So I love that you found that in each other.
Yeah. It's been a really fun journey. It's also been chaotic as hell. Like and I tell this like really beautiful love story about how we met and blah blah blah, but like there was an absolute and still is a thread of complete freaking chaos in our life.
Yeah.
Like since we've met each other, the things that have happened and the things that like just this year alone, like we started this year with me being attacked by dogs and having two broken
Oh,
arms and
oh
like
my
ending up in the
gosh.
hospital for 5 days. And
No.
somehow through all of that, it only made us like love each other more because
Mhm.
he was so amazing at like rallying our community and taking care of our kids and making sure I was taken care of. And then like he like really would, I mean, and he would say this, like he was baffled by the strength that I showed in the situations that we were in. And there was just so many ways that things like that have happened in our life, and it could really derail a relationship because when stuff is hard, it's hard.
Mhm.
But
Absolutely.
instead, it only makes us like appreciate each other more and then find like the silliness in it and the joking and the like one of my favorite pictures of us from this year is like when it snowed in Georgia, and it was like maybe a
Mhm.
week after I'd gotten home from the surgery, and I'm literally in like double arm casts. I can't
Mhm.
get a shirt on. It's freezing cold outside. And I'm like double beanies on my head, a blanket wrapped around me, like looking insane. I haven't been able to do my hair in like 2 weeks. And there's a selfie of the two of us. And it's like one of my favorite I look insane, but I love it so much because it's such a testament to how like it doesn't matter. Like I still love
Yeah.
that photo of myself because I look so happy because I'm with my people and I feel
Yeah.
good. I feel good about my life, and it was just such a reminder that like I don't need all of that. I don't need to look cute to feel really good about who I am in my life and how grateful I am for the person that I found. Well, the universe threw at me, really. Like I I really feel like the universe was like, "Here, idiot." Like like
Yeah.
you said it. Here you go. Like
I have been asking the universe for things for a long time, and
I feel
maybe I
like
should
you
just
have to
challenge, be like,
that's what I'm
"Arr,
saying.
stop asking."
The universe has a little bit of ADHD,
Yeah.
and it like needs a challenge, and it needs
Mhm.
you to say like you can't do that, and it's like, "Oh, test me." Like and that's I feel like it's or maybe that's just my universe because I have ADHD, and if you tell me not to do something, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny. One of my best friends, he tells me, Kwasi, if you're listening, this is about you. He tells me, he's like, the universe is always listening to you. He's like, every time you tell me about anything or anyone you go out with, it's exactly what you asked for. And then when they show up, you realize, oh, maybe this isn't exactly what I wanted after all, but the universe is listening. So maybe I just have to be more specific. I don't know, but it's funny. But I do like I think you hit a really important point just about like going through the crap together and the difficult times and stuff. I mean, I've talked about this a couple times on the podcast so far, but I lost my dad last year. And that's something that was like a huge trauma for me. I mean, I just love my dad so much. And it definitely changed my friendships and relationships. Makes you realize like when things get hard, who shows up for you.
Yeah.
And, as we get older, like people are going to get sick. People are going to die. You may get sick. You might get injured. Some other people that you love in your family or friend circle or your partner. And, who's going to be there for that? Like you want somebody that can handle it emotionally, can handle it, resilience and support and positivity and, all of those different important elements. And I loved what you said about how he was baffled by your strength because that's so validating, I mean, I'm sure you were an incredibly strong woman through all of this, but like there are people that, that you could be with that might, I don't know, diminish you and say, oh, yeah, it's just a broken arm. Like, why are you so upset or whatever? But somebody that really kind of admires your strength and resilience, I think that's something that also is indicative of a wonderful partner.
Yeah, he does this thing where if I say anything nice about myself, he screenshots it and saves it. And then when I'm being hard on myself, he sends it back to me and
Oh
says, "You
my
said this about
gosh.
yourself." And it's like one of those little things where he just sorry,
You,
I like it's he makes me so emotional, but he really believes in me in a way that I wished I could believe in myself, but now I do, and that's
mm,
because of him. Like I know like what I'm worth and who I am and the changes I've made this year alone to like protect my mental health and to prioritize my life and to like just really take space for my kids who needed it and for my community who
mhm,
needed it. Like that was all because he was like, you are strong enough to do these things, but you shouldn't need to. And if you
mhm,
want to take time away and you want to take a step back from these other things because it's important to who you are, like you have to do that for you. Like he never once has questioned when I've said this is what I need for myself. He's never like, "Do you really?" He's always like, "Okay, let's do it." Like and never. And I think and I do think I do that for him too. Like I know I'm talking a lot about him and how great he is, but like I think he would say a lot of the same things about me because I feel like he started his own business last year and it was a really big leap of like money and faith and time
mhm,
and scary, and it was what he wanted to do, and he was so sick of working for unethical companies. He works in therapy with kids,
mhm,
and he wanted to like really do something where he could be ethical with where he was working, who he was working with, and also the way he treated his employees. And I was like, yeah, you can do that, you can do it, let's do it. And we took a big leap of faith, and he's like wildly successful, of course. And like
that's
it's so nice to be with someone that really you never like he's like the best mirror of myself. Like when I am at my worst moment and I'm feeling really terrible, like I literally was crying last night about my cat. And he's like, "I understand that you feel guilty, but you know you don't need to feel guilty. Like I get
mhm,
why, but I also these are all the reasons why you've done everything you can." And like that mirror of just like trust and belief and really
mhm.
knowing someone. Like we joke like a lot of the time he'll do something and he'll go, "You get so mad when you know that I know you." And I'm like, "I know, I hate it." Like he really knows me in a way that like sometimes I don't remember. Like he'll say things
Yeah.
to me and I'm like, you're so right." Like and it's so nice to have a partner who sees you, who's not trying to change you, who's not trying to make you into something you're not, who sees you and who is like loves the changes too, because it's so easy to get in a relationship, someone loves you, blah blah blah, and then you change because we all evolve as people. That's part of
Yeah.
being a human, and they don't. like it anymore.
Mhm.
That's hard. And to have someone who sees you as who you are at the core of who you are, like not the things you do, not what you do for them, not the way you look today. Like they really see who you are at the core of who you are as a human being and your existence and love you for that. And that, because that never changes. That's the thing. Like you always are that person, but what you do and this outside of you and the changes you make in your life, those change. They'll always love you for that. And that's such a gift to have as a human being. And like, yes, I have it in my husband, but I also have it in my friendships. And
Yeah.
I think that's important too. Like having deeply healthy friendships that where you're in love with your friends and they see you in the same way is also just as important because those are all the things that make you strong enough in yourself to where when the right person walks into the room, like not only are you like available to them because you're listening, but you also aren't compromising. Like you're not ignoring red flags and like, well, maybe that'll get better because you know you're worth more. Like, and that's
Right.
important, I think, is that part too.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, there's so much good stuff in that. I mean, I love the fact that first of all, going back to him screenshotting when you say something nice about yourself, that's so that's so wonderful. That's so precious. Like, he knows he to your point, he knows you. Like he knows that the issues that you've had that you've discussed about you know, having that self-worth and that self-confidence. And so that he supports you in your own growth towards loving yourself. I think that's something really beautiful. Because it's not just getting validation from him. It's like him showing you, yeah, here's you self-validating too.
Yeah.
So I love that. And then also, what you're touching upon, like with his business and that leap of faith and everything. I think it's also like partnership. What's beautiful is, taking those leaps together and saying like, hey, not only do I believe in you and support you, like we're in this together. We're financially committed together. We're emotionally committed to this together. Sink or swim, baby, we're in it.
Yeah.
So, had it not worked out, had it not been, had there been like a longer period before he got successful, you still would have been there. You still would have been his cheerleader and rallying
Yeah.
for him, and I think that is a sign of a good partnership. It's just sort of that willingness to go in the trenches together, whatever it looks like. So, well, do you have any sort of words of wisdom for the singles out there who are still looking for their one?
So I mean, my biggest one would be like you want to get in a relationship when you want to and not when you feel like you have to. Like if you are looking for a husband and not for a partner, like if that
Mhm.
makes sense, then you might get a husband, but you might not get a partner. And I think it's
Mhm.
really important that we're intentional with knowing what we're looking for. Like, why do you want to have a husband? Why do you want to be in a relationship? Like, what is your reasoning? Is it because society tells you have to? Because if that's all it is, like, girl, don't. Like,
Mhm.
you can have plenty of successful relationships without that. If it's really what you want, great. Now, what do you want? Like, being intentional about it and really knowing yourself well enough and believing in yourself enough and doing the work of like falling in love with yourself first, because that's how you can maintain like the best standards for you. And I think it's so easy and it's not really women's fault a lot of the time because society does a lot of really messed up stuff to us and it's
Mhm.
set up to make us believe that it's better to be married when really we know marriage benefits men more than it does women most of the time.
Mhm.
And so we have to intentionally work on that. And I think a good way of doing that is, do the work, go to therapy, get a freaking therapist. Everyone needs a therapist. People who say they don't need a therapist are always the ones who need it the most. But like get a therapist because it's always helpful to deconstruct those things, to think about it, to have someone to throw things off of. And if it's not, the most accessible thing for you, because obviously the world is a hellscape and it's very expensive right now, then cultivate a really loving community of people around you that you can trust and that you fall in love with also. Because I think it's really important to fall in love with your friends because friends are it's the same. The relationship is the same. It's just you're not having sex with people. Like
Yeah.
it's really the same thing. And so fall in love with your friends, have a supportive community, and listen to them because they know you and they're not trying to hurt you. They're there for, they love you. So when they say this dude treats you like crap, like they aren't saying it to be mean. They're probably saying it because it's very true.
Mhm.
And don't compromise. Like, I think the one good thing about being in a decade long relationship and my husband being in a 5-year relationship that wasn't great and getting divorced was we weren't willing to let anything go in the beginning. Like, when things
Mhm.
came up, we either like talked about it or we like had to get some understanding from each other. And to be fair, there
Mhm.
weren't a ton of things because it really was, I mean, like I want to almost use your own word. It was sort of kismet and that like
Yeah.
we really just things were good, but we did have stuff come up and there were things that I would have probably not said anything about in the beginning, but I did because I had been in a bad relationship and I didn't want to make any compromises. I didn't want that. So I was very clear about like, hey, like what's this about? This is kind of a boundary for me. What do you think about it? And like, thankfully, he was like open to having conversations and learning and growing. And, and I think that's important for men in general is like they have to be open to learning and growing. So
Absolutely.
definitely, like, if you are seeing a red flag on your first date, bring it up.
Yeah.
Because if they can't deal with it on a first date, how are they going to deal with it 2 years later? Like, it's not going to be
Absolutely.
better. It doesn't get better. People are on their best behavior on first dates. Test them then. If they can't fake
Absolutely.
it on the first date, then they're really a problem.
Yeah.
And like the last thing would be just, like take the pressure off. Like people get so sort of like, I talk to my single friends all the time about this. They're like, oh, and this and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you just take a breath, man. Like we are not 20 anymore. Like we are in
Yeah.
our late 30s and 40s. Like people have lives. Like be very clear about what you want, be clear about like what your expectations are in relationships and have those conversations, not even just with men, any relationship, but also like give people a little grace and approach things with curiosity. And I think that's
Mhm.
something I've learned from parenting, which is rather than assume someone is doing something, I like to ask a lot of questions. So like if my husband does something, I'll be like, hey, like, are you doing okay? Like, it seems like, you might have been in a bad mood earlier. Or, like, this thing that you did kind of felt a little off. Like, are you doing okay? Is something up? Is there anything that,
Mhm.
like, is going on? When you approach things with curiosity, you start a conversation versus sort of coming on really strong. And then you might get an answer that you weren't expecting. And then you can sort of get some understanding with people. And that's, again, this is like a parenting thing. Like, when
Yeah.
my kid is in a bad mood, I'm like, hey babe, like, are you hungry? Are you tired? Like, what's going on? What do you need?
Yeah.
Because and I'm not saying like you're always thinking of the other person first, but if you're getting some feedback or something from someone that seems kind of like off, like, oh, they're
Mhm.
suddenly not answering as much or, because dating is rough. I'm like thankfully not doing it in 2025, but in 2020 it was rough. And so
Yeah.
just really giving people a little bit of grace and a little bit of curiosity. And then if they suck, they suck. Like just that's
Yeah.
fine. Like you can just be like, "Oh, you suck. That's fine. I
Yeah.
got my answer." But a
Yeah.
lot of the time people don't suck. They just aren't like used to open communication
Yeah.
and we haven't been especially our generation, we have not been raised in a way that teaches that. And so we're
Especially
teaching it
men. Yeah.
especially men. And there's something that a really amazing liberation educator that I know talks about. And she's like always talking about how she's like white women like treat your white men with the same compassion about learning that you want us to treat you. So like we have a tendency to really come down on men specifically and for good reason a lot of the time. But if you are trying to be in a relationship with someone, if you approach with curiosity and you give them the space to maybe grow, from a place of like, I want you to grow, but I also don't want to teach you. Like, I want to be
Mhm.
curious and see where you're at. Then you can maybe have a little bit more impact than being like, oh, men suck, blah, blah, blah. And like, yeah, men do suck sometimes. That's absolutely a thing. But sometimes you can help them through the process of what society has like done. Society has done a lot to women to hurt them, but it's also done a lot to men. It doesn't teach
Yeah.
them to be soft or talk about their feelings or
Mhm.
love or do anything. That's what we are doing. This generation of parents and like people that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to teach our children in general to be more like that. So
Yeah.
we didn't get that. So just giving everyone a little more grace and a little more like curiosity is really important, I think. And
Yeah.
just, and like, and again, like I've said this 5 times now, probably, but like not compromising. There's no reason to compromise. Like, you don't need a relationship that badly. That relationship, I mean, it could literally kill you. Like, it's
Yeah.
like, I was in a relationship for a decade that broke down who I was. And in some ways, I'm grateful for that in the sense that I learned a lot about myself, but there were a lot of easier ways to do that. And I do not
Mhm.
recommend it.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
recommend that by any means.
Absolutely. I mean, I think curiosity is such a great point, like coming at it from like a point of like wanting to learn why your partner is having an off day versus being reactive and sort of projecting and thinking, oh, it's because of something that some issue they're having with me or some
Right.
issue they're like interested in some other woman at work or whatever, and that's why they're being standoffish today, or when really it could be like they haven't eaten all
Yeah.
morning.
We
I
really
mean, for me, I get so
underestimate.
grumpy if I don't eat. Like,
No, we
yeah,
genuinely underestimate like hangry and what it does to
yeah,
people. Like,
yeah,
being like, half the time, any problem in our entire house is like everyone needs to drink water and have a snack. Like, it's
exactly.
really like the adults and the kids. Like, but like, it's so easy in the world we live in to like forget that,
Yeah,
like people get overstimulated, and we're also dealing with like 99% of us are like neurodiverse now. So
yeah,
like just the curiosity is so important in the sense that like we just don't know what everyone's dealing with, and like, why stress yourself out about a question you haven't gotten the answer to yet? Like, that's
absolutely.
ask the question, don't be
Yeah,
scared of the question.
absolutely. I mean, the worst that can happen is you find out an answer that you don't want to answer, but you have now the information to make,
Right.
decisions on. So
Yeah.
it's better to know that now than in the future. Cause
Yeah,
I've
you don't want to
certainly,
learn that 10 years in. That's not fun.
yeah. And then you find yourself compromising over and over and over and over again because then
Yeah.
you're in it and then it's hard to get out.
Yeah,
So
and it's not the big compromises don't happen at first. It's the small ones that start it.
yeah,
You compromise a tiny bit and a tiny bit more and a tiny bit more, and suddenly you're compromising on something you never thought you would. And that's,
yeah.
that's it's a lobster in a boiling pot is what it feels like
Mm,
when you are in a relationship that's not right for you. It's like you're suddenly in a relationship that's really not right for you.
absolutely.
And the small compromises in the beginning are really the important part. Like, just don't do it. And I don't mean like don't compromise about where you're eating for dinner, blah, blah, blah. But like, you should decide like what's important to you. Who are you as a person? Like, those are things you really need to know before you get in a relationship, because it's
Hmm.
so easy to lose yourself and you don't want to do that.
And I think that this is also a message I sort of want to share. And one of the reasons why I'm spotlighting all of these stories is when I talk to you, when I talk to the other guests that I've had on my podcast, when I hear how happy they are, how healthy the relationships are, how, folks get emotional like you did talking about their partner because they're so thankful. And, this is my message. This is my message to you single folks out there. All of my single friends is that you don't have to settle for the compromise. There are like people out there that are going to make you happy like there are in these relationships that we're seeing and experiencing through your words and stuff. So I I don't know, I feel like there's so much dialogue around single people, like needing to lower their expectations and compromising more, and I just, for me personally, it's not worth it. Like, I'd rather be alone than be with the wrong person and
Yep.
wonder what it would be like to be with the right person. So to me, that would be personally hell to wonder if there was something better, and better for me at least. And that's also not fair to whoever you're with either, is to
Yeah.
never be completely happy. So, don't settle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those compromises only hurt you and the person you're with. And that's just not like, we're not doing it in 2025. Like, we're just not doing it. 2025 was supposed to be my year of no.
Yeah.
Um, because I needed to say no more and stop
Hmm.
doing as much. And I think it should be everyone's year of no, because
Yeah.
like, honestly, we just all need to like that phrase, like, no is a complete sentence. Like, it
Hmm.
is like, you can just not like, it's
Yeah.
allowed. It is allowed.
It's something that I've been doing as well. I mean, I'm someone that has always said yes to everything. I am like that person that says yes to last minute plans. I'm very spontaneous. Like I always am, I have a very significant FOMO. So, but I have also been like, I guess sort of conditioning my friends to me saying no more because I'm like, am I just saying yes because it's on the table? Or am I saying yes because I really want to do all these
Yeah.
things all the time? And like, especially now that I have a podcast and I have things that are really driving me and exciting me every single day and giving me purpose, it's easier to say no for things that are not, not aligning with me in that particular moment in terms of my personal energy, my enthusiasm, my interests, it's okay to say no. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, this has been a great conversation, Gabby. Thank you so much for sharing all of your insights and your story. I've loved hearing from you and learning from you. And I think there's so many great things that we can all take away from this. So thank you so much for being so open and sharing with us.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to Kismet. Please like and subscribe wherever you are listening, as it really does help. If you have your own Kismet story you'd like to share, please send it to me at kismetstoriespodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, be bold, be kind, and be open to everyday magic, because your person might be literally just down the street, going to the same bookstores and same concerts. The stars just have to be aligned for you to meet.